tonight on Real Talk in the community. Okay, we're here on Real Talk, and this is something new that we're starting here. And we're starting tonight with the Democratic candidates in the city of Portsmouth. And I know a lot of you are really familiar with all three of them, but we want to get this last minute questions in for these candidates. And you know, it's never too late to get information out there, and especially to get you out there to vote. So I'm going to turn this back on so you can see their beautiful faces, and we will start questioning them right now.
And I'm Barry Randall. Y'all know the People's Pastor here with Arnett and James, the new Real Talk Facebook Live show that's going to be coming to you guys. Real Talk, No Chaser. We have some interesting shows coming up. And we wanted to start this first one off with an inaugural event of highlighting three phenomenal individuals. But before we bring them on, we're going to now let Miss Arnett McSwain Love talk to you guys.
Hello, everybody. Y'all know me. I'm Minister Love from the Love Spot, and it is an honor to be able to be here with the candidates on this evening. And so let's get right to it. I'm ready for some answers.
You're ready? You and I both. Well, listen, I'm going to start out to be fair to my co-hosts. Each one of us is going to ask you guys a question. Then we're going to let you guys go about your merry way because you still have some babies to kiss and some hands to shake. With what we have seen, you guys know I'm going to come straight out the gate with it. With what we have seen around this country, with individuals turning down visits to go to the White House because of the divisiveness that our president spews and what he does not stand for. Question that I have for you guys, what I have watched with People for Portsmouth, a local PAC community group here in the city of Portsmouth, with what they have tolerated, with what they have put up with. Going forward, I know you guys had to do what you had to do. I want to commend each of you for attending anything that they had, because at the end of the day, it was not for the particular PACs, it was always for the citizens, because regardless of who votes for you guys or not, you will serve those individuals. So first of all, I want to take my hat off to you guys for doing that. But my question is for the younger politicians and for those that are coming behind you guys for the next upcoming race. When we look at, and I know this is a loaded question, Mr. Scott, that's your favorite word, but when we look at individuals taking a stand to turn down an invite to the highest leader of the free world, do you agree with me, and you don't have to agree with me, but do you agree with me, what I will be lobbying you guys as well as other leaders in our community, that we not support anything that People for Portsmouth does until they take a stand with integrity. And the reason why I say that is because Ms. Pam Clopel has said to numerous individuals that Ms. Cynthia Morrison is the better candidate, but yet she will not allow her group to endorse because of what those that are on her board stands for. Any one of you all at any time. How do you, I guess my question that I'm really trying to get to you guys is, do you agree with me that we should boycott them? Meaning, for example, if Don Scott was running next year, he can't control who endorses him. But because of what he seen them do to the other Don Scott, should he go to their forums knowing that they're not going to endorse him and their reasons is for the wrong reason? It has nothing to do with because he's not competent, but simply because they stand for what 45 stands for, in my opinion.
Well, I personally never run away from any group that is in disagreement with me, because I think over time I can, but you know, I've never been one to shy away from anything that is controversial. So I'd rather meet it head on.
As an elected official, I agree with me politically or one of these citizens. I don't have the luxury of making policy. Policy is made by the members of the Virginia General Assembly. And so I try to apply all of the laws that are passed by the members of the Virginia General Assembly fairly and equally to all citizens. Whether they agree with my political perspective or not doesn't matter. Once you become clerk of court, you serve everyone, and you serve everyone equally and fairly. So I wouldn't boycott. I would go in and present, this is what I do, this is how I do it, to give the citizens an opportunity to know the person that they hopefully may vote for, and if they choose not, at least they still had the opportunity to address their concerns to me personally.
And I'm gonna say the truth. I mean, I really believe that when you run for public office, you have to earn it. It's not, you're not entitled to it. You have to go and speak to people that you may vehemently disagree with. And People for Portsmouth is one of those organizations that they have some history here of endorsing some folks, maybe not with the best interest of our community sometimes. But that's okay. I think they asked me some tough questions when I was there, and I enjoyed having the opportunity to show them that, no, I don't have horns, I don't have a forked tail, and I can speak with them and have a conversation with them. And if they decide to vote for me or not, it won't be for the reasons that they thought they would not be. It would be because of some other reason that has nothing to do with my ideas, the issues, or the policies and things that I want to implement. So they'd have to examine their own hearts. So what the senator said, there is some rot in all of these organizations. Obviously, there's some rot in the White House, and there's some rot here locally. And I think what we have to do is we can't just let it grow and fester and ignore it. We have the opportunity to go in and shed some light. The best disinfectant is sunlight. And you go in there and you put light on it. And when I get the opportunity to speak to them from their forum, endorsed by them, they have to listen to my ideas. I get the opportunity to have that platform to speak uninterrupted. So to me, that's an opportunity to be able to have a debate, a dialogue, and put it in the marketplace of ideas here in Portsmouth, and then let your argument speak for itself. And then they know right from wrong. If they decide to continue to do wrong even when they know better, that's on them. And I think that's what we have a moral obligation to do.
Absolutely. Because you have to understand that once you become an elected official, you take an oath of office that you will represent all of the people well, those who voted for you and those who did not. And so we try to the best of our ability to live up to that oath. Everybody that take that oath don't take it as seriously as some of us. We had to work real hard to get to where we are. So we take oath of office very seriously.
Well, thank you guys, and that definitely shed some light on my thinking or thought process concerning that. And that's why I wanted to ask, and communication is key, because you're absolutely right, and I agree with you 100%. I just don't like the way you guys have been treated on the trail. I want to confer to Ms. Arnett before we go to James.
Okay. Candidates and the citizens argue that a couple of seats, and we know what seats they're talking about, have been occupied too long by the same individuals. Now, I don't think they understand that with age comes wisdom, and then sometimes it takes time to actually accomplish what you need to accomplish due to how much time you've put in. So how would each of you respond to the age and the longevity factor?
Can I respond quick first?
Sure.
Let me tell y'all something. These folks have earned the right to do what they're doing. What folks need to understand is none of this is given. You have to earn it. You earn it by people understanding and believing that you're going to do what it is you say. These folks have earned what they have. They've done it over and over and over. And no, you can't please all of the people all of the time. You're going to when you're trying to make some eggs, when you're trying to cook some omelets, you're gonna have to crack some eggs sometimes. And so you're gonna have some people that may not disagree with everything that you've done. But over time, when you've done way more good than harm, people are gonna keep electing you. And so that's what people need to understand. There is no entitlement. So just because you've been 21 and you said you can vote now, you're not entitled to anything. You have to put the work in, and when you put the work in and earn the credibility, then folks will support you. But until that time, you have to keep putting the work in. One thing that I've learned to watch these folks when they've been running, y'all don't know how many hours they up, how often they're working, not just in this election, but once the election is over with, the work that they do, the phone calls that they get. If we sat down and wrote down all of the things and the folks that they helped over time, y'all would think they were bragging. Mm-hmm. And so what they do is they do things internally because you know why? They get self-gratification from helping others. And when you get self-gratification from helping others, those are the type of people you want to serve. And that's what they've done. So, this whole age dynamic thing, it has nothing to do with it. Do you have a heart for service? And as long as you have that heart for service, then you have the right to run. And those people that think they have a heart for service and they've earned the right of the people, they can run. It should not be that you're too old or you've been around too long. It should be that I have the competency and the capacity to serve. And that's what I think Senator L. Louise Lucas and Cynthia P. Morrison both have. The honorables, they both have the capacity and the competence and the heart to service.
In the job of clerk of circuit court, I have the really honor of having the only elected office in the Commonwealth of Virginia that has an 8-year term. That is no accident. Someone in the Virginia General Assembly many years ago, before I ever got elected to this office, decided that this term of office for this particular job needs to be longer than normal. So it's an 8-year term because experience in that job does count. Knowledge and skill is not learned quickly in that particular job. When you talk about for decades, the clerk in Greenville County, Bobby Wren,
50 years.
50 years service. That is not unusual for clerks to be in office for multiple years and multiple decades. In a lot of localities, they recognize the fact that it takes more than a minute to become skilled at what you have to do as clerk of court. A lot of people may not realize that the job is not just what you see sitting on the bench. That is not just the job. The clerks that you see or the deputy clerks you see sitting with the judges, that is a small part of the 800 duties and responsibilities that the Virginia General Assembly, these guys, delegate to the office of the clerk of circuit court. So it takes a moment to learn and to hone your skills and to get good at what you do. Unlike some people, I didn't just come off the street into the job. I had 21 years of management experience with a major corporation, Verizon. Can you hear me now? I brought that with me, but I had never worked on the court side. And I give you that. I can run an office. I know how to do efficiencies. I know how to set up and run a small business. That part is not it. But it takes you a while to learn the details and the technicalities of the court side of that house. Mr. Scott and them have to go to law school for 3 years above that 4-year undergrad degree. It is no mistake that those lawyers have to have all of that extra education just to practice in the courts. So why anyone would think that having experience and expertise as the clerk of circuit court is a negative, I do not understand. The gentleman that I first ran against, Mr. Edmonds, had over 30 years service, and I lost to him because I could not offer the citizens the same degree of expertise that he had
At that time.
at that time. And so 18 years in me is just a drop in the hat. And yes, I look forward to continuing the progress and to serve at least another 8 years.
Well, I'd just like to add to that, when people talk about the length of time that you've served in office, they have to remember that we don't just walk up into the doors of these offices anytime we want to. We're here because the citizens have continued to vote for us and to send us to these offices. And as you've indicated, both of you, normally that's based on experience. Myself in particular, I was on city council for 2 terms. And when the seat became available in the Senate, I went right straight to the Senate and skipped right over the House of Delegates. Because I had, in 8 years, acquired enough information and knowledge about how localities operate that when I got to the Senate of Virginia, I could hit the ground running. And now that I'm in the Senate, you have to remember that we are a seniority-based system, plain and simple. If you don't stay there long enough to get to the larger or better committees, you're never going to be in a position to make a significant difference in the lives of the people that you were elected to represent. It took me years to be able to become a member of Senate Finance because you don't automatically go on to finance as a freshman. It takes years sometimes to become a conferee. I'm now a conferee, which means that after the budget has been done, we are the ones who decide how that last pie is cut. You have to be there a long time to be able to get into those positions. I am now serving on 4 and will be soon 5 of the top committees in the legislature. Senate Finance will also serve as a conferee. And I've already served as chair of local government, and I've chaired as education and health. And with the blue wave,
Preach.
I will begin to take that gavel and serve as chair of education and health again. You cannot do that without seniority. You don't get to be a committee chair until you've moved up the ranks. I have served on every standing committee in the Senate of Virginia except 2. And we get an opportunity to be refreshed by the voters every year. Term limits, your term limit is when people decide to turn you out to pasture. We're here because the voters have decided that they want us here. They must have appreciated the work that we've done because they continue to send us back time and time again.
Thank you. I wanted to make sure that the voters that have never heard this can hear it tonight so they can understand you're not just riding a position, and it was important for me to allow you to get it out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You kind of, Minister Love, you kind of hit on what I wanted to hit on, because what bothers me is hearing the terms like the old guard and the new guard, and for years, over the years, I've worked with you all for years, and Don, you're a newcomer and experienced, and we've always had this, older group, experienced group, or a younger group, but we always kind of work together, and we try not to use the term "wait for your time," because we have some very smart young people coming up.
Absolutely.
And it's not a matter of waiting for your time. It's like what you just said, getting the experience.
Exactly.
And working with the people, sharing your energy and your creativity of the young people coming up, and the experience of the people who have been around for a long time. So thanks for bringing that question up.
Well, if I might just
Go
add
ahead.
one thing to that, and I can speak especially for my running mate, Cynthia Morrison, our clerk of court. We have endeavored, between the two of us,
That's what I was thinking.
to mentor as many young people as we can. They have gone from your office to my office. They've served interns. When we had salaries to pay them, we paid them. We have started to work with younger people in our community from when they first get out of high school and first graduate from college. We hire them. We give them an opportunity
That's
to
where the
learn.
experience starts.
We give them an opportunity to learn what it is they need to do to get to where we are. We're already trying to mentor the youth who are going to come up behind us. As soon as, and I won't call any names because people will probably start throwing rocks at them. As soon as a couple of young people graduated from college, I hired them in my office. And right now I can speak of this one because I know it's probably going to be a good thing for people to hear this. Aja Moore, who is Sheriff Michael Moore's daughter, served as an intern in my office for 2 years while she was in college. When she graduated from college, she knew what was required, so I hired her as my legislative assistant. It was a natural. She came in while she was in college, learned the job, so it was easy for me to hire her when she graduated this year. Those are the kind of things that we do.
Because we say it's not that easy for someone. We get these situations where people come up all of a sudden. You never heard of them, never seen them in the community. And everybody still has the right to run if they want to.
Sure.
But, it's a path sometimes you have to take to get to that point. And, Cynthia, Ms. Morrison, you've done a lot and have interns in your office. I wish we just could see the diversity, the age diversity we talked about on the radio show
And
that you have in your office.
We have. The same thing that Senator Lucas is saying. I've hired young people since 2001 when I first got elected. Internships for me is nothing new. And I made sure budget-wise that I asked for a line item in my budget from the city because I don't believe in hiring young people who are trying to get their education in college and don't pay them. So the internships in my office are paid internships. I've been fortunate enough to see not just one, but at least 4 young folk who started off with me, did not have their college degrees, stayed there, worked with me. We flexed their hours. They completed undergrad, 2 of which have gone on and got their master's degrees, okay? And they have done well. They've left my office. They're off, and some of them up in the Northern Virginia corridor working. But we give them an opportunity to gain some meaningful job experience. We give them an opportunity to have a line on their resume that people will recognize that you must have had some set of skills to be a deputy clerk in the office of the clerk of circuit court. And we make sure that they hone those skills so that you're not just putting it on a piece of paper, that you can actually hold your own if somebody interviews you and talks to you about the skill sets that you have.
And unfortunately, sometimes using that, it feeds into the opponents.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll use that to say, okay, they've been there too long, we need some new young blood, and you get people coming in there with no idea what to do. So, you know, and
James,
and
there
Don, go
there
ahead.
has not been 1 year since I took my oath of office in 1992 that I have not had at least 2 interns in my office every year who were college students. Every year since 1992, I've had interns in my office in their 20s. And a lot of them have gone on to do bigger and better things. I've had interns that come to me who ended up being my legislative assistants who've gone to work for a U.S. congressman. I mean, United States senators, gone to the congressman's office. They've gone and done a lot of great things because they were able to get their start right here in the city of Portsmouth with us.
Yes, indeed.
That's what we did.
And Don, you came here and you hit the ground running, and some people think they can just come right out and say, okay, I'll get elected and then I'll learn a job, or I'll get elected and then I'll go out in the communities and spread all this stuff.
I think-
and then they find out they can't do certain
Yeah,
things.
I think people think I hit the ground running, but I've been here 14 years.
Yeah, I mean,
And one
go
of those
ahead.
things I did while I was here, I've been involved actively in community organizations. I've supported a lot of organizations. I've supported a lot of people, young people and others, and older people even, in helping them meet their goals. My career and my background is in workforce development. That is in taking people and helping get them in a career path where they're going to earn a living wage, where they're going to be successful. That's what I've done my entire life. Just like, you know, the senator and Cynthia Morris and the clerk of court said, they've helped a lot of people go on in their career. I've been blessed to be able to help so many people who've gone on. I got an email from a young man a couple of weeks ago where he didn't even know I was running. He is in Connecticut now. But I'd given him a job when I'd worked for the company I had right out of college. He couldn't find a job out of the UVA, couldn't find a job, helped him get a job, and he told him, look, I'll get you a job, but you got to relocate. A lot of people know that. I tell them, look, if you want to grow, you got to go. And so I would get him a job, and they went to Hartford, Connecticut, got a job. He turned that job into a job for the mayor of the city of Hartford, turned that job into a job with Senator Chris Dodd in Connecticut, turned that job, and now he's the vice president for grants and development for ESPN. And he sent me an email back and said, Don, do you remember me? And I said, I do. And he said, let me tell you what I've done since that chance you gave me. So what happens is people get opportunities and then they have to take advantage of them. And that's what we do. We're in the opportunity giving business. And so it's not about an election or a job or anything like that. What we want to do is give people opportunities. And that's why we all want to run, because we care about the community and we care that everybody get an opportunity. I don't think anybody here is angry or upset about anybody running for office. I think what happens is some of the messaging is kind of crazy on why you're running. You know, if you say I'm running for my skills and what I can bring, that's fine. But when you start attacking somebody else for no good reason, it's a reason, as Mrs. Morrison said, that's a reason that that's an 8-year term. Because that's not a job you can run right into and get right out. You can't return to that job over every 2 years, every 4 years. That's
The legislature did not want that office to be subject
to whims.
To people campaigning against them every 2 or 4 years. They understood, the General Assembly understood that there had to be some continuity in that office, which is the reason why we established that term in the first place. The one thing that bothered me most about this election were the folks who were saying they didn't know who the clerk of court in our city, didn't know who that person was. If you have any intellectual curiosity at all about that office, and if you have the IT skills that you profess to have, why didn't you look it up?
Right.
What does that say about a person? For somebody to say they don't know who the delegate is in the 80th district or don't know who the state senator is, with the technology that we have today, why wouldn't they have the intellectual curiosity to look it up for themselves?
They weren't trying to know.
They weren't informed.
They weren't trying to know.
But excuse me, and I didn't mean to say, you hit the ground running 14 years ago.
Right.
That's what I meant to say.
Well, speaking of, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
Mr.
I'm
Overton.
finished.
When you was talking about the attacks, I do have something on that because I always stress to people when I'm throwing out stuff that you should be insulted when people try to play on your intelligence. And with what was coming out, the false accusations, the lies, the negative videos, attempts to manipulate the citizens. And of course, if y'all know me, I was totally offended. Had to watch myself, and even Dawn had to talk me down a little bit. But, you know, to me, what do you think about that? Because y'all have been professional throughout this entire campaign. I was cheering when I heard Ms. Morrison get one comeback because y'all have been totally professional. So what do you think about that as, you know, when you're running a campaign? All of that mudslinging.
I think that what has been said is truly the way that campaigns should be run. You bring your ideas and your experiences to the table. When people have to sling mud, then that shows a weakness to me as a voting citizen. Even though I'm running for office, I also vote. I think people resort to that when they have nothing else to offer. And for me, I'm more interested in what you bring to the table. What ideas you bring, what skill sets you bring, what is your ability to do the better job.
Right.
I'm not interested in mudslinging because we can debate and discuss the ideas, the policies, whatever, but that's not what I'm voting on.
Right.
I'm not voting on how much mud or how much negativity you can bring to the table.
Right.
I want someone there who can, as I used to say, chew and think and walk at the same time.
Right.
That's critical to me, more so than it's not a beauty contest. It is a contest of minds and skill, and that's what I look for in a candidate. I need to know that you can think. Yeah, you can call me the professor, but that's fine. That's what I look for. I want you to be able to think and rationalize and come to some very good conclusions on policy issues that impact my life.
Exactly.
And if I hire you to be the clerk of circuit court, make no mistake, this is not a contest. This is a job. That is what they are hiring you to do, to run something that is a small business that's called the clerk of circuit court.
Right.
When we are elected to do a job. And that's what I think a lot of folks who are interested in running for public office don't understand. You don't get to do this when you feel like it. You have to do it because you were elected to do this job. And so a lot of times people talk about the energy that I have. If I didn't love what I do, I wouldn't have been doing it this long. And so you have to have a passion for it, and a passion for the people, a passion for the issues. I am terribly bothered when I watch these ads on TV. And some of the candidates are talking about how you want to elect me because I'm going to represent you well in this position, and never say one word about an issue. I never heard them say a word about education, health, never heard them say anything about any common sense gun control, nothing about the environment, nothing about, drugs, whether or not we're going to reform our criminal justice system. You never hear them speak on one issue. It's always about, this is the reason why you want to elect me, and they talk just solely about, it's as if it's a beauty contest of some kind. Right. This is a job that the citizens elect you to do, and they expect you to do it to the best of your ability, and that you're on the job all the time. When somebody calls me with an issue, I don't have the luxury of saying, well, I don't feel like it today, I'll respond to you next week. Yeah. It requires that I respond to them right now, and that's what I do.
You do. Yes, you do. I done called with some stupid stuff. Mr. Skye, how about you?
Yeah, all I would say, it's appropriate that we're sitting in the church right now. I'm a person of faith, and my mentality, my first thought process is, in politics, as I've heard some mentors say often, wink, wink, politics is a contact sport. And if you can't, if you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen. And so sometimes people are going to come at you and test who you really are. And so when they test you in that way, you have an opportunity to show them who you are. I'm not responding to that foolishness. I'm going to stay focused on the issues that the people want us, because as the senator said, we have to get results.
Right.
And so if I spend all of my energy trying to defend me, that means I'll care more about me
That's
than I
right.
do about the people. And so at the end of the day, I care more about the people who want me to serve them. And I'm going to try to focus on those issues. And I'll let those folks who do what they do, practice the politics of personal destruction, I'll let that says more about them than it ever will about me. And so I don't really care. I'm just going to go focus on what the people want us to get done. And that's what I've been able to focus on. And
You
we stay
indicated
focused
that
on-
we've maintained our control throughout this campaign, and I think there might have been only one time that I actually lost my cool, and that was during the candidates forum for the clerks of court down at City Hall when, right after the debate was over, I was approached by a woman who wanted to say some negative things about my candidate of choice for the 80th district, and I was highly offended with the tone of the conversation,
Yeah.
and I may have gotten just a little bit inappropriate at that moment. But for a white woman to call me an angry black woman, that's something that's going to create a rise in me.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Well, and I want to ask you guys this, and more so, and Senator, you can piggyback off of it, but this is directed towards Don and Ms. Morrison. Because I guess with my first question that I asked you guys, it brought me a better insight when you all responded. So with the integrity that you guys display and have displayed, Don, you first, Ms. Morrison, Mrs. Scott, you first, Ms. Morrison, you second. What advice would you give your opponents as they go forward in their life?
The main thing that I have is, they have an opportunity, I think, whatever happens tomorrow, just like I do, to reflect on the things that we've done and said and learn from. And hopefully if they reflect on those things, they'll look back and they'll learn from it. And I'm the type of person, I can get along with anybody. And I'm hopeful that, regardless of what happens, we can still work together, all of us, to try to make the city better. And that's the key. I don't hold, you know what I mean? As far as politics go, there are things that we have to get done moving forward. But I also remember my friends, and you have to stick to your friends and the people that have your back, and through thick times and thin times. And I think hopefully they'll remember that, when they move forward, and they'll reflect on some of the things that they've done, and hopefully they'll learn from those things. And maybe in the future, they'll be able to continue to try to help serve the city, as I will. No matter what happens tomorrow, I'm gonna continue to try to serve.
Ms. Morrison.
I think that in politics, at least it's always been my hope that when people enter that arena, that they remember that there is a certain amount of civility that is needed and that is necessary. I have no problems with politicians at any level who want to discuss the issues and put forth their ideas on the issues. I do not like personal attacks at any level, whether it be someone running against me, someone running against Don for the House of Delegates, or someone running against Senator Lucas, because that is not what I'm interested in. I would like to recommend to individuals who want to enter the political arena that they be prepared. If you're going to come to the public and ask them to trust you to do service for the community, then show them that you are prepared to do that and not just engage in personal attacks. Quite frankly, I was shocked for an opponent to say that you're running against somebody that you didn't even know what they stood for. You don't know who I am, so you said. Therefore, you couldn't possibly know the work that I've done in the last 18 years. You had not a clue because you said that.
That's right.
So, when I ran for office the first time, I lost. I ran against a clerk with over 30 years service. But I knew the person. I knew the job that they did. And I took the time to go online and research the manuals because they were right out there. They've been out there that long. So that I would have an idea when I talked to the citizens about what I could do differently, that I was talking about something that really could be done. So I just think that if you want the citizens to support you, if you're offering up your services to be a public servant, then make sure you bring in some services to the table and not just a lot of mudslinging. I don't really like that.
Well, we have under 10 minutes left. I want to yield my time to my co-host, Ms. Arnett or Mr. James, for final questions for our three candidates of choice. And listen, want to just let you guys know tomorrow, for those of y'all that are tuning in, we have Don Scott, who's running for the 80th House of the House of Delegates. We have Ms. Cynthia Morrison, who is running for Clerk of the Circuit Court, and of course, none other than Senator L. Louise Lucas, who is running for Senator of the 18th District. So we're asking you all to please get people out there to vote on tomorrow.
Well, I just want to say thank you for your time, and I can vouch that you always mentor, because when I retired from law enforcement, I had no idea what politics was, what was going on, until I sat and listened to y'all. I constantly listened. Whenever y'all talk, I listen. So I just want to ask you this. What does success look like in the position you're currently in or running for in tomorrow's election? What's success to you as far as what you're going to do from henceforth?
Well, I personally have a number of issues that I am going to approach as we go back into the 2020 session of the General Assembly. And one of those is going to be, and I'm happy that I'm going to have Attorney Don Scott, who comes with those skills, working with me on criminal justice reform. Because as he indicated earlier in the forum this afternoon, we have to make sure that we do something about this school to pipeline.
Right.
Incarceration. We've got to do something about how often black and brown people get twice the punishment for their misdeeds than the greater members of society. And I talk specifically about marijuana. We need to decriminalize marijuana because so many of our youth are getting criminal records unnecessarily for what we consider recreational amounts of marijuana. Where in other places marijuana is legal, but our kids are stopped in their path of success based on these little, what I call the small crimes they get for marijuana. So I'm going to be working, that's going to be one of the issues that I'll be working on. Decriminalizing marijuana, working on the criminal justice system, and trying to make sure that we prop up our education system.
I'll go next. I mean, obviously, that's one of the issues that I care about, and Senator Lucas is very passionate about as well, criminal justice reform. And I think we have, as an attorney, I get to see the impact every day in court of what happens to our children. And I think a lot of our communities are over-policed. I'm going to be frank with you. We're over-policed, especially when it comes to stops. A lot of it has been by marijuana. The smell of marijuana is probable cause for a stop. So just just decriminalizing it may not get at that point. So we have a lot of things that we have to look at to make sure that that's not an issue that's going to continue to trap our young kids. And obviously, I'm not giving up on the tolls. And I think success looks like even just starting a conversation. That's to success. I know some people want it to happen overnight. It's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
We have a lot of things going on in this community that got us here, and we're going to have to figure out how to do an autopsy, see how we got here, and see what the opportunities are to alleviate some of that. And those are the things that I consider a success, along with making sure that we protect what the last General Assembly did, which is protect Medicaid expansion.
Absolutely.
We cannot go backwards. We cannot allow these folks to come in and start discriminating against people who have pre-existing conditions. We have to make sure that those are the issues. If you believe health care is a right, then you cannot sit at home tomorrow. You must come out and vote to make sure that we protect these gains that we've made. The only reason the Republicans passed it last time is because 15 of their colleagues lost. And they learned a lesson. We need to send a few more of them home tomorrow.
Yes.
Like Senator says, they tried to repeal and replace Obamacare. We need to repeal and replace them tomorrow.
That's right.
That's what we need to do.
That's my motto.
That's right. Thank you. I stole that from the
That's the
Senator.
3 R's. Repeal, replace, Republican.
That's right.
That's right.
Mr. Overton, and we're done.
I just like,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Success for me is a little bit different than it is from the members of the Virginia General Assembly. My job as clerk of circuit court is to implement many of the policies and laws that they pass. It impacts the criminal justice system on how well I do my job. That is, following those rules or those code sections that they have put into play. I have always been proactive as the clerk of court in the city of Portsmouth. For example, when I got there in 2001, a code section had been on the books for many years that allowed our returning citizens or those who are incarcerated to be able to pay off their court costs and fines through community service. Portsmouth did not have a program. I put that in place. I'm always searching the code section to try to find out what, if anything else, has been passed by the Virginia General Assembly that is of specific interest to my community. For a while, you had the ability to say that if you had a case with the clerk of circuit court that was 20 years or older, we could not collect on it. And I held my people to the standard of we didn't do that in Portsmouth. Unfortunately, somebody went back to the Virginia General Assembly. It was changed last year to now it's 60 years. 60 years. Yes, it's changed. We have to follow the policies, the rules, the regulations, the code sections that the General Assembly passed. But it is also our responsibility as clerks of court to make sure that our community knows. That's why I'm telling you tonight about that code section that's been changed, so that you can talk to your members of the legislature to say they need to treat it like any other judgment.
That's correct.
20 years is a lifespan
That's
on a
right.
judgment.
That's right.
And that is what they had changed it to. Now they've moved it out to 60 years.
Wow.
I'm just saying that, yeah, you have to care about what you do. What does success look like to me? It looks like continuing to make sure that my staff is well trained, that they're educated and knowledgeable. It means giving great customer service to every citizen who walks in that door, whether they're a citizen of Portsmouth or not. If they come to us for service, it's our job to provide that service. It means to me being actively engaged in this community, helping the citizens of my community, the place that I call home, in any way that I can with whatever limited skills that I may have, and bringing to bear everything that the office of the clerk of circuit court has to make sure this is a good place for our citizens.
Okay, wow. And I just want to make a quick comment. First, I'd like to thank you all for your integrity. And I'd like to thank you all for doing your campaign, for staying with the issues. You know, I end each one of my radio programs with saying be aware, be informed, and be involved. And there's no way the citizens can be that way unless they get the issues from you all. And if anybody wakes up tomorrow and they have any doubt in their mind or still hadn't made up their mind, when they're going, their guiding force should be the issues they heard from the candidates, not all the other stuff that
That's
try
right.
to distract them. So once again, I thank you and wish you all the best of luck. You have my 100% support, and we'll be playing this tonight and throughout the day tomorrow, because
Well,
it's not
thank you
over till
so
it's
much.
over.
And thank you
Thank
all
you
so
so
much
much.
for giving us this opportunity.
Thank
Make sure
you.
you guys share. Those of y'all that are watching by way of Facebook, make sure you guys share. Look forward to more exciting topics between Arnett, James, and myself. We're going to have a great time with this Real Talk Live the first Monday of each month. And again, we're looking forward to going. I voted early for Dawn, Cynthia, and Louise.
I did too.
I get calls and inboxes every election.
I'm up
So
1-0.
I can
grateful,
show
so
you.
grateful.
And the reason why this is so important, no, seriously, the reason why it's so important, because we don't know, I didn't realize the little influence I had to people was inboxing me, who should I vote for? I didn't know that was a question that people ask, because some people don't know. So that's why it's very important that we do these things that we're doing, because people that respect us in the community will see who we're supporting, and hopefully they will follow suit and support you guys as well. So these are my 3 candidate choices. I don't do stuff in secret that I can't do in public. I have always supported you guys from the gate, and I look forward to victory on tomorrow. Unfortunately, I won't be able to eat with you guys, but I'll be able to party with you guys.
Well, thank you so much.
Y'all pray for me. Since Friday, nothing I'm about.
But I'll be with y'all all day.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Thanks again.
Make sure y'all go vote tomorrow.
Oh, this
Make
is
sure you
this is
go vote.
it.
Go vote. Go vote. These.
Did anybody get any comments?